I am Manasvi Rao from First BBAA, and I take immense pleasure in welcoming you all to today's webinar. As you all might know, today's session has been organized in order to give us an idea about the data analytics course, which is going to be introduced in our college, Christ Academy Institute for Advanced Studies, very soon. To brief us about the same, we have an industry expert amongst us today, Mr. Harjeet Singh. Before I call upon Mr. Harjeet Singh, I would like to inform you all that if you have any questions, kindly type them in the chat box. These questions shall be answered during the Q&A session. I would hereby like to call upon Blessy Saji to introduce our speaker for today, Mr. Harjeet Singh.
It gives me immense pleasure to welcome our guest for the day, Mr. Harjeet Singh, the founder come director of EduEdge Pro, an EdTech initiative. He is also the founder and board member of Stelios Asset Management Private Limited, a fintech initiative. Sir is a financial mathematician from Stanford University, US. He was also the university topper in Bachelor's of Engineering Information Technology. Adding to his list of academic excellence are his international charters, CFA, FRM, PRM, and CAIA, and multiple scholarships like the Ratan Tata Scholarship, J.N. Tata Scholarship, and Prafulla Mukherjee Scholarship, to name a few. He is an individual with solid professional experience. He has a global market experience in Wall Street, London, and Amsterdam. He has also worked with some of the leading investment banks, institutions, and consulting firms in the world. He continues to train employees of MNCs, investment banks, and consulting firms, and individuals involved in the financial markets. He has also consulted the Ministry of Finance, Government of India on financial market policies and frameworks. In areas of investment and risk management, he has consulted various banks and also held consultations with NSE, MCX, and SEBI in algorithmic trading and financial markets. Apart from these, Sir has also received venture capital funding for asset management and hedge fund business. He also runs a SEBI-registered AIF Cat 3 India-focused hedge fund. We at Christ Academy Institute for Advanced Studies consider it an honor to have him in our midst today. Thank you.
So thank you for the introduction. I would like to, throw some insights today about what is analytics, how is analytics useful in various parts of the industry and in various domains in the industry. And I hope, after the session, you would be able to appreciate better, the role of analytics in the industry today, in businesses, how analytics drives business performance today, both in terms of, increasing operating profit or revenues, as well as, reducing costs. So let's get started. I'm going to just, make my screen. So this is a bit about myself. I think this is already covered. I would like to just, take a couple of minutes to talk more about my company, EduEdge Pro. So EduEdge Pro, I'm the founder director of EduEdge Pro. EduEdge is essentially, a higher education edtech company. We have, over the last 4 to 5 years, curated more than 100 odd courses spanning across 30 plus career tracks, which include the likes of fintech, BFSI, analytics, and data science. We have trained more than 75 plus corporates as well as university clients. Over the period of last 4 to 5 years, we've also trained more than 30,000 plus candidates. This is including both university as well as corporate candidates. And we teach practically through hands-on curriculum nearly 25 plus industry platforms. And these industry platforms essentially range from an Excel to a Power BI or a Tableau to a R or a Python, right? So these are some examples of industry platforms that we cover in our training programs. With regards to what do we do, as far as our businesses are concerned, within EduEdge Pro, we have several verticals. One of our major verticals is domain training programs, because we specialize in domains, in training programs around specialized domains. So we run a lot of training programs for corporates where we customize programs and run programs across data science, analytics, BFSI, capital markets for various kinds of corporates like investment banks, consulting firms, mutual funds and hedge funds. We also do a lot of activity on hire and train recruitment side where we, sort of connect colleges or universities with corporates and help, recruitment mandates of various corporates and fill up these mandates by providing skilled candidates from colleges and universities. Um, Apart from that, we also run a lot of different industry tracks with a lot of different universities, where these tracks are essentially hands-on curriculum on what is important in the industry. So we run different kinds of tracks across analytics, capital markets, investment banking, and fintech across several universities. We have our own edtech platform and we provide a lot of self-paced curriculum and courses through our edtech platform. Besides that, our biggest strength in training comes from the fact that we are ourselves, industry participants. We have our own asset management business. We have received venture capital funding for our asset management business, which is essentially on the fintech side. We deploy a lot of algorithms and something called as algorithmic trading and institutional advisory through this asset management business. And we bring in a lot of expertise since we have our own SEBI registered fund as well. And this expertise which we bring helps us curate content which is more industry relevant and more practical and hands-on versus other educational institutions in the business today. In terms of highlights of our programs are multidisciplinary. Uh, we have devised a lot of industry tracks and courses. And some of the highlights of our courses are that once you undergo our courses and tracks, you will be more domain ready, which means you will be job ready on day one with respect to job roles across finance, banking, capital markets, fintech, data science, and analytics. Uh, our curriculum is industry oriented, which means it's designed keeping in mind what is needed in the industry and the current gaps in the academic curriculum. So we closely study academic curriculum of various universities and have devised these sorts of industry relevant tracks, which will help bring the students up to speed with what is required in the industry. All our programs are linked to professional certification, so it does not only add value to you as a knowledge base, but also these are aspirational programs because the industry recognizes these programs and you receive formal certificates with our industry partners. And we have partnered with the likes of Moody's Analytics, MCX, which is the largest commodities exchange, and with a couple of other chartered bodies, and we provide such kind of certifications. And of course, we also provide support with placements where we have received mandates of more than 5,000 odd jobs from different companies, and we help students who have undergone our programs with placements in these companies. The highlight of our coursework is that a lot of emphasis is applying knowledge on various platforms, and this slide gives you some of the platforms which we cover through our curriculum. So we have devised curriculum which covers practical hands-on training in Excel, in Power BI and Tableau, which are basically business intelligence platforms. We cover a lot of Python and R, and Python, as all of you know, is the de facto analytics and data science language and platform which is used nowadays, to write any sort of analytics or data science program or code. Apart from that, we also cover a lot of big data analytics through Spark and Apache Hadoop. Uh, we do a lot of database management through SQL. And of course, when it comes to finance and banking, we have programs designed around Bloomberg ecosystem. And Bloomberg, some of you must be aware of the fact that Bloomberg is one of the largest financial softwares which is used across the banking industry. And for you to crunch financial analytics, you need to know Bloomberg and how to extract data from Bloomberg. So we have designed programs around these platforms. So all our programs are very hands-on. Moving on, these are the 6 different tracks in which we have designed our curriculum and programs. And these are across 6 important domains of investment banking, banking and treasury, financial markets, data science, analytics, and fintech. Across every track, we have designed 15 to 20 different programs, and we offer these in the form of various kinds of learning formats. As you can see on the right side, these are available in the form of a single certification program or an industry track, which is basically a bunch of programs across every track. And of course, the last part is through our EdTech platform, where we provide you access to our self-paced training platform through which you can undergo various tracks and various courses uh, across these different kinds of industry tracks. A bit of perspective about our track record. We have collaborated with more than 25 plus universities and colleges in the past. One of our main clients is Christ University. We work with more than 6 campuses of Christ across India, as well as with the likes of Mumbai University, Jain University. Some of our clients are listed out there. Uh, the highlight of our programs is that these programs are delivered by industry participants themselves. So we have a core faculty team of more than 50 plus industry faculty who are working as investment bankers or data scientists or consultants or IT experts in various companies, as you can see in the part E on this slide. And we offer a lot of industry oriented tracks across these universities and colleges. We have trained more than 20,000 plus university college students in the past, and we have a lot of different product offerings like industry tracks, certified programs, and campus hiring recruitment solutions. Apart from that, on the corporate training side, we have trained mutual funds, we have trained consulting companies, investment banks, IT companies, we've trained exchanges such as NSE, MCX. We've also run training programs for SEBI, which is the regulator of financial markets. And we offer 3 essential solutions to corporates. One is on the recruitment side, second is on the corporate training, and third is on the EdTech, which is the self-paced platform. Uh, this is an example of the various tracks which we run across Christ University, Bangalore, Lavasa, Ghaziabad, 3 campuses which we cover under Christ. And as you can see, we have created tracks across analytics, data science, fintech, and financial analytics to be more precise. And with these tracks, we bring on our industry partners such as Moody's Analytics, Acuity Knowledge Partners, CISI, CMT, which are global charter bodies, MCX and Bloomberg. And these industry partners, partner with us on these tracks, and we offer joint certification to all our candidates and participants who undergo these programs. And as you can see, the structure is very simple. Every semester, we undergo 30 hours of training program. And this is basically embedded into the curriculum. So students not only undergo their regular academic curriculum, but parallelly, they also undergo an industry track where every semester students, undergo 30 hours of our curriculum, 30 hours of live training, classroom trainings, live synchronous training, and additional 30 hours of training, which is in a self-paced mode or an asynchronous mode, which is hosted on our EdTech platform. So 60 hours of learning and coursework every semester. Let's probably talk about, analytics first, and then I will talk about what we offer under analytics. So why analytics? Let's get to understand why analytics. So a very useful diagram which essentially helps us understand why or where is analytics used in various parts of businesses. So every business today requires analytics and uses analytics these days. And businesses require analytics across various domains, ranging from finance, marketing, supply chain, e-commerce, HR, and you name it. And that domain or that area requires analytics. So some of the examples are laid out in front of you. For instance, you are a marketing company, FMCG company, and you have your own website where you're selling products, and you run various kinds of sales campaigns. So in order to understand what kind of pricing you need to do for various products or services, you need analytics. So for price optimization, there are various kinds of analytics tools, methods, and algorithms. So that's a key area where analytics is used. Analytics is also very useful if you are in the top management and you need to take certain decisions based on the data. So your team is going to aggregate data for you and provide you data in the form of various dashboards and visualization tools using the likes of two of platforms like Tableau or Power BI, wherein the management can see a top level overview of business and then take a lot of different kinds of management calls in terms of where do you need to focus your marketing efforts, where do you need to where there are those pockets on marketing segments where you need to focus more on, whether you need to change pricing, what kind of change in your sales strategy you need to do. So lots of different kinds of decisions are now based on analytics. uh, of course, when you talk about customer behavior, that's where analytics plays a critical role. So in terms of if some customer needs to be retained, so there's a lot of analytics which needs to be done in terms of how do you retain customers. If some customers are leaving, you need to understand the behavior of these customers which are leaving, the trends in those customers chunks which leave you, or which do not reuse your products or services. So there also analytics is very, very useful. In terms of distributing your products and services, analytics is extremely useful in terms of inventory optimization and in terms of how do you route your products and services to various kinds of distribution channels. So routing optimization is also where analytics is very useful. And overall, in order to understand the behavior of the customer, so a lot of behavioral segmentation uses analytics as well. Also, one of another area where analytics is very useful is market basket analysis. So I'll take a minute to explain what is market basket analysis. So whenever you enter a supermarket, for instance, you must have seen that wherever there's a checkout, there are various kinds of uh, products kept at the checkout counter. So you must be having a mint or maybe a small refrigerator where they would be keeping some chocolates or ice cream. And such kind of products are to go products. So whenever you check out, you must be browsing that counter at the checkout counter and must be buying some items at the last moment. So what kind of items should be kept on the checkout counter? It's another product of analytics. So what to be kept at the checkout counter? If suppose you go into a supermarket and you go into the tea shelf, so what kind of teas to be kept, right? So where do you keep green tea? Where do you keep normal tea? What kind of products do you keep? So where do you keep teas sold by HUL versus other companies? All sorts of shelf optimization techniques and models are also possible now because of analytics. So these are some of the examples where analytics is so useful. And also analytics is very useful in terms of R&D, where AI is deployed to improve your products, improve your research. And in terms of support functions, analytics is extremely helpful in terms of IT enabled solutions and services. Even in HR, there's an entire field called as HR analytics, where analytics plays a key role in terms of helping companies manage their workforces, help companies understand what kind of packages or salaries to be given, what kind of increments to be given, what kind of variables salaries to be paid, and also help companies manage attrition rates. On the legal side, fraud detection is one of the key areas where analytics is very useful. In finance, of course, forecasting is where analytics is very useful. And in operations, of course, on the automation side, analytics also plays a very critical role. So this is a very, very important slide, which gives you an overview of, what is the sort of the role of analytics and where analytics fits into the picture in terms of businesses. These are some of the domains where analytics is used, and I've given some examples of algorithms and areas of analytics within each of these domains. For instance, when we talk about marketing and e-commerce, analytics is very useful there in terms of revenue and margin forecasting, in terms of demand forecasting for your different kinds of products. Also, cross-selling algorithms. So, where is cross-selling used? So, whenever you enter an e-commerce website, and suppose you buy a certain product or a service, so you must be seeing a band there somewhere on your web page which says that those customers who have bought, say, milk, or who have bought a certain item, also simultaneously buy so and so item. So there's a band which comes in, which suggests that those who have bought milk also end up buying certain other milk products, and those milk products get listed on your page immediately. So that's an outcome of cross selling, and that's where analytics plays a very important role. Predictive modeling, customer segmentation, which means how to segment out your customers and what kind of marketing strategies to be deployed on different categories of segments of customers is what is very critical. Social media analytics. So whenever a company launches a certain product or a service, social media campaigns are run by such companies so that we understand, what is the traction and what is the feedback from the clients firsthand. So a lot of social media campaigns are run, and because of these campaigns, a lot of client feedback or customer feedback starts flowing in. So a lot of sentiment analytics can be done. A lot of analytics can be done to understand whether the feedback on the products or services is positive or negative, right? So all this is part of something called as social media analytics. When we come to finance and banking, again, analytics plays a critical role here. So all sorts of strategic decision making is where analytics is very useful. Especially some of the key areas where analytics is also very very important is where portfolios need to be modeled, and a lot of analytics need to be done on portfolios. So that area is called as portfolio analytics. Also, there is risk management, which has emerged as one of the key areas in finance and banking, and the analytics applied to risk management is called as risk analytics. So under risk analytics, different financial firms and banks can understand what are the risks, which their traders have taken across the entire bank or the entire trading desk. So that's an example of risk analytics. Fraud detection. So a lot of banks use analytics to understand what are the different frauds which could happen or which are happening in various parts of the industry, including their own banks. And then they run a lot of different sorts of fraud detection rules and algorithms, so that such kind of frauds do not happen in the future or are preempted in the future. And also another area where analytics plays a huge role today is basically credit card default forecasting. So as you know, credit cards are now being pitched out left, right, and center. But a lot of companies have started, and a lot of fintech companies these days are offering analytics-based solution so that banks understand what are the chunks or clusters of different kinds of customers or clients where credit cards could default on a higher rate, and then the banks could probably not lend out or not give out credit cards, or maybe reduce the limit of credit cards on such kind of customer segmentations. And also such kind of analytics will help a bank uh, put a certain client into various kinds of categories or segments of the market. When it comes to manufacturing and supply chain, analytics plays a critical role in performance and defect tracking in terms of automation of manufacturing units. Also, when it comes to fuel optimization, so how do you optimize fuel? When is fuel used by different machinery at what times of the day? All these sorts of optimization engines can now run in an automated fashion because of various kinds of analytics and information which we have based on these analytics. Obviously, on the supply chain, a lot of optimization needs to be done so that the overall cost of production is reduced. And supply chain optimization is a key area where analytics is deployed. And of course, once the product is manufactured, the most important thing is to distribute these products onto various distribution channels. And transport monitoring system is where another area where analytics is so useful in manufacturing and supply chain. Another area where analytics is usually useful is healthcare and pharma, where any sort of drug discovery or medical image analysis. So a lot of times, these days there are so many apps like Proctor, etc., where you can send in your image, you can send in some video, and there are a lot of analytics which can be run based on this. You can probably also send out a PDF of your medical, maybe a blood test or something of that sort, and there are analytics which can be run on these blood test reports or different kinds of medical reports, which will help online doctors understand some sort of do a bit of diagnostic analysis in terms of what could be wrong with patients. So all that is now possible using analytics along with data science techniques and algorithms. So these are some of the areas across some of the domains. Of course, analytics has applicability across so many domains, but here I wanted to highlight some of the domains where analytics plays a critical role, and this slide basically gives you an overview of that. If there are any questions, you can please ask, and would be more than keen to answer these questions. You can probably write me on the chat box so that I can also keep answering questions. So what is the analytics workflow? So we have understood where is analytics used. Now the next question is, what is the workflow of analytics? So analytics workflow sounds very simple, although the processes involved could be very complex. So it's a simple workflow where the first part of the workflow focuses on data. So obviously data acquisition or collection is extremely important. And in the industry, we call this as ETL, which is basically extraction of data from various data sources. So this data could also be in the form of live streaming data. So data could be coming into your systems on a second by second basis, where you would need to run algorithms later so that you have insights into the data. So this data also might not be able, your engines might not be able to handle the data directly. So a lot of transformation might need to be done uh, on this data or these data sets. So that's part of something called as extraction, transformation, and loading of data. So that's the first important part of analytics workflow. The second part is understanding what the data is trying to tell you. So any sorts of trend analysis or any sorts of diagnostic analysis which needs to be done on the data is part of insight as part of your analytics workflow. So organization of data into various categories, first of all, and once you're able to organize the data, the next part is to analyze data for any sorts of diagnostics or any sorts of trends so that we understand what are the historical patterns in the data or what is the data trying to tell us. And of course, based on the insights which you gain in the second step after your data collection, the third step, of course, is to take action on these insights. And that's your third part of the workflow, which is basically delivery, which is action. So any sort of description which comes out. So for instance, if your analytics says that, okay, you should be focusing your business on maybe age group 25 to 30, and specifically within this age group, you should focus your marketing efforts on, say, females. So that's the next step, which means action is based on these analytics. So a lot of rules can come out, a lot of, once you gain insights, you can form action-based rules and strategies. And that's basically the third part of your workflow. And this can also be demonstrated in the form of this circular diagram, which you're seeing here. So this is the, so I'm just going to use a highlighter here. So so this is essentially, a circular diagram where, there's a bit more, process flow involved here. So you essentially start with collecting data, you analyze this data, identify patterns in the data. Then you have various kinds of scientific methods through which you can have certain sorts of hypotheses. And what are these hypotheses? Just an example I just mentioned to you. Your hypothesis could be that your business is being driven by, say, uh, age group 25 to 30, essentially females. So that becomes a hypothesis. And you can explain your hypothesis based on the data and based on the insights which your data is throwing. So you need various kinds of methods for that to vet your hypothesis. And then you can run various sorts of algorithms as part of your data science toolkit. And then you can test your hypothesis. And once you test your hypothesis, you can come out with whether a hypothesis is true or not. So whether your 25 to 30 target segment is your marketing campaign really effective for that age group and within that age group for females. So how effective is your marketing campaign? You'll be able to understand once you test your hypothesis through various types of qual and quant tests, right? So this is, sort of a flow diagram in terms of what happens once you collect data. You need to analyze your data once again. You need to identify patterns, trends, or run some sort of diagnostic analytics. You need to formulate hypothesis, test this hypothesis through various, design experiments, and then again start repeating this process and refine this till the time you're convinced about your market segment, about how are you going to target your market segment, and at what price bands are you going to target your market segment. So that's all part of qual and quant studies, which various FMCG companies run as part of their brand marketing campaigns, right? So this slide talks a bit about the analytics workflow. Hope this is understood. Let's move on to the next slide. So there are four kinds of analytics. So what are different kinds of analytics? Four different kinds of analytics. So on the left side, as you can see, we have some sort of a diagram here, which helps you understand what are these four different kinds of analytics. So the first simplistic kind of analytics is uh, descriptive analytics. So descriptive analytics will basically, come out with different kinds of, patterns or different kinds of properties of your distribution, which means your mean, median, mode, standard deviation, range, variance. So these are the different kinds of statistics which you can gauge in terms of your empirical distribution, and that helps you understand what is the data all about, what is the description of the data. So data can be described using a distribution, and distribution can be described using various kinds of statistics. As you can see, you can also have histograms, IQR, which is interquartile ranges, frequency distributions, etc., etc. All that is part of descriptive analytics. The second part of analytics, or the second kind of analytics, is diagnostic, which means why did it happen? And for all sorts of diagnostic analytics, we can use different sorts of visualization techniques and diagrams to really understand what happened, why it happened. The third category is predictive analytics, which means what could happen in the future. And when you talk about predictive analytics, this is the second portion which comes under predictive analytics. So any sort of forecasting. So as you all are aware of, there are various kinds of time series methods which are available for forecasting in the form of ARIMA models, moving average, if you've heard of moving average, autoregressive ARMA models or ARIMA models. So all that is part of time series. Also causality of relationships. So is A causing B or is B causing A? So all such kind of forecasting or causality can be forecasted, and you can predict what could happen in the future using such kind of predictive algorithms. Also, under predictive analytics, you have some very advanced algorithms under data mining, where you will be able to run cluster analysis, association analysis, which means again how to cluster your segments, or how your customers, or how to do customer segmentation based on your data sets. That's part of cluster analysis. You can run regression to really understand which variables are driving your sales, or which variables are ultimately impacting your costs. You can run various kinds of regression, like multiple regression, logistic regression, or any sorts of other kinds of regression here. There are decision tree methods which help you understand various kinds of rules. So if you are distributing your products and services across various channels, so which channels are most effective at what kinds, what times of the day, when do you send out your trucks, in which routes, on what routes should you send out your trucks, should you send across your products through air, through maybe cargo, etc., etc. All these are basically an outcome of decision tree methods. You also can do a lot of text mining. This is essentially very useful for social media analytics, where your algorithms can read various kinds of text and then help you understand what is that text trying to tell you. Is it positive sentiment, negative sentiment, as a very basic example. And then, of course, the next step, or the fourth kind of analytics, is prescriptive analytics. So once I'm able to describe my data, once I'm able to diagnose what has happened, why it has happened, and once I'm able to, possibly predict, in the near term future, then the next step would be my action plan. So once I know what could happen through predictive analytics, the next step would be prescriptive analytics. So how am I going to work upon the fact that if I'm able to find out, okay, my target segment of the market is maybe age group 25 to 30, so that's part of my predictive analytics. And what are the action plans? So how do I target this segment? So do I target the segment through IPL ad campaigns, or do I target through, these segments through maybe running digital ads or digital campaigns across major websites, or maybe run YouTube campaigns, or maybe LinkedIn campaigns or something of that sort? All that is part of something called as prescriptive analytics. And here you can use various kinds of techniques like goal programming, linear, non-linear programming, transportation algorithms, logistics, optimization heuristics, etc., etc. And you can also run a lot of different kinds of modeling, which comes under Monte Carlo simulations. Yeah, so this is in brief what are the different kinds of analytics. Uh, Someone has asked me, how will analytics help with respect to HR? So as I had explained, if you want to build your career in HR, analytics is very useful. There is a different sort of domain called as HR analytics, which essentially helps focus on different areas of HR. So, for instance, if you want to understand what kind of price increments, what kind of salary increments you need to give to your staff, there HR analytics is useful. If you want to understand how do you run your recruitment campaigns, there analytics is very useful. And also within these campaigns, which geographies to target, where is your target segment, how do you recruit, all these things are very useful using HR analytics. Also, how to retain your staff. So what kind of welfare schemes to be run for different kinds of staff. So that also is an output of HR analytics. So HR analytics, as I explained, has a huge role in understanding sourcing, recruitment, also training and development. So what kind of training programs would be useful for different kinds of staff? So that is also an output or outcome of HR analytics. So L&D training, and of course, the attribution in terms of the attrition in terms of how do you retain talent, and if talent is lost, so what are the reasons why the talent is lost? So all these analytics can be performed under HR analytics. Moving on, I have a few more slides to give a better perspective of analytics. So when we talk about business analytics is divided into three parts. Let me explain this very clearly. So the first part obviously is the analytics workbench. So this is called as data analytics. This is where your data flows into your systems through various kinds of channels. So as you can see, there could be local data marts, which could be feeding data into your systems. There could be social media platforms which could be feeding data on a real-time basis into your systems, or these could be ad hoc files which are generated through batch processing at different times of the day. That could also be an input to your various systems, and based on that, there you can run something called as data analytics, which means you can first arrange your data in a certain way. You can clean your data, you can transform your data, and then this data will be available for further consumption to really understand what are the trends appearing in these data sets. So data analytics is something which is part of this first layer, which is the layer in the middle, which is the analytics workbench. This is the data analytics workbench. Now, there are two ways in which this data can be consumed. One way in which the data can be consumed is for a higher level overview of data, which means running some sort of uh, diagnostic analytics or prescriptive analytics. So that's the second important, analytics environment in any company, which is something called as an information portal. So the top management or the middle management of the companies is generally uses information portal, where they are not really bothered with where the data is coming from. All that they are bothered about is what is the trends emerging in the data. So what is the price trend? What is the volume trend? So all these sorts of trends can be very easily analyzed, cut, sliced, uh, in terms of which geographies, which regions are, driving your sales, where to focus on, what are the customer segments, and what are the pricing and volume, sorts of trends which are coming out across various kinds of customer segments. So all this is possible in the form of an information portal. This is also, you know, this is generally available in the form of a dashboard or in the form of a business report. And there is something called as business intelligence. So this is also called as business intelligence. And there are platforms in the industry which are used to, conduct business intelligence across various forms. And these two important platforms are Power BI and Tableau. This is where you can build your own customized dashboards so as to understand what is your data trying to say. So a lot of report writing rules are possible using business intelligence tools and platforms. So that's your second important part of the analytics environment in any company. And the third important part is where you can understand or run something called as predictive analytics. So predictive analytics can be run using something called as data science. So your data again is an input into various kinds of algorithms. So there are people called as data scientists in any organization, which basically analyze the data, try to fit different kinds of models on different data sets, and then try to understand what are the factors which are driving the sales or the costs of any organization. And then they will try to model these factors and come up with some sort of predictive analytics, right? So any sort of predictions or predictive analytics algorithms is a very key part of something called as data science. So as you can see, three important areas where analytics is deployed in any organization. One is data analytics. So you must have heard about these names: data analytics, business intelligence. So this is a very important diagram which gives you a clear-cut distinction of the three important areas. So one is data analytics, which means how do you process your data, where do you capture your data, how do you transform your data and load your data into suitable formats. The second is business intelligence, which is essentially used by management to really drive decisions in the future. And of course, the third important category is data science. Data science, where data scientists deploy various kinds of machine learning, AI algorithms, supervised, unsupervised learning algorithms, various kinds of algorithms to help them understand what is happening and how can you model the data and what kind of predictions you can run on various kinds of data sets. Right. So this is, in short, a three-tier analytics environment in any business. So what are the job roles? There are two important job roles. Actually, there are three. But when I talk about job roles, so there's generally a job role called as a business analyst, right? So I would say business analyst is essentially someone who covers these two areas, area one and two. Specifically, the analyst, which works in area one, is called as a data analyst. The person who works on area two is called as a business analyst. And the person who works on area three, which is the data science lab, is essentially a data scientist. So clearly, there are three kinds of job roles which emerge out of these three important areas of analytics within any organization. And of course, there are various kinds of responsibilities which come out of any of these job roles for every of these job roles. So, for instance, the most important job responsibility of a data analyst is essentially to handle data, to clean data, transform data, and make the data available for consumption for other stakeholders in the firm. The key responsibility of a business analyst is to deploy various kinds of BI or business intelligence tools and applications to really understand the business, what is driving the business, and then make decisions or run campaigns based on these various kinds of business conditions and processes. And the third, of course, is data science, where a data science scientist uses various kinds of advanced algorithms like supervised, unsupervised learning algorithms, and tries to really uncover various patterns. And these are all usually non-obvious patterns in the data, which cannot be seen through basic visualization tools. All that is possible using data science techniques and algorithms. right? So these are some of the important job roles coming out of analytics slash data science. And the next question would be, what kind of skill sets are needed? So when you talk about analyst, which essentially works on data, or could be working on something called as business intelligence, which means dashboards and reports. So analyst works on these two critical areas, and generally, uh, business analysts are hired from BBA, MBA programs who are essentially, uh, you know, specialized under analytics. The tools used in the industry could be many. Many organizations have their own bespoke or customized tools and platforms. But the three most important platforms used in the industry are Tableau, Power BI, Cognos. Analytics, which could be run, are basically OLAP BI. Focus is on business, absolutely on business, which means how to improve your operating profit, which means how to improve your revenues and how to cut down your costs. So that's the core focus of a business analyst. The scope obviously could be departmental because there are various departments in any organization. And of course, there are analysts which work across the entire organization or enterprise wide sort of divisions, wherein some kind of a cluster analysis which could be done uh, at a bird's eye view, at a firm level view, right? The value of a business analyst is extremely high, is very, very high in an organization. And coming on to a data scientist. So data scientist obviously needs to program. So the most important element which you need to understand is a data scientist essentially needs to know programming. A business analyst, on the other hand, need not know programming. If programming, it's a big plus, but if you don't know programming, you can still become a business analyst in an organization. If you're able to do database programming, then you might be able to get in as a data analyst in companies where you might want to probably have your hands-on knowledge on understanding SQL, etc., etc. Right? So business analysts need not know or might require programming in some cases, but a data scientist for sure needs to know programming, right? So that is one of the important difference between business analyst and data scientist skill sets. In terms of a data scientist, usually these are postgraduates, masters or PhDs who end up becoming scientists eventually in the industry. So typical, hierarchy is you start your career, after an undergrad as a business analyst, and then, after a few years, you can progress to become a data scientist. You can also, pursue your undergrad, UG, then you can do a PG, and, after your PG, you can maybe enter into analytics. So this is the second way in which you can do. The first way, of course, is after a UG, you can become a business analyst, and after a few years you can gain requisite skill sets through various kinds of online PG programs or something of that sort, and then you can become a data scientist. So these are two career paths of analytics guys in the industry. Some of the analytics guys always remain on the non-data scientist side, which means non-programming side, and that is absolutely fine. They also earn a lot of money, and data scientists also earn a lot of money, right? So there's enough uh, you know uh, space under the sun, or room under the sun, for everyone in the industry. And these are the core skill sets or differences between a business analyst and a data scientist. And finally, a couple of more things. So, what are the top salaries? So, top skill sets required today in the industry are skill sets around cloud. So, because cloud analytics and computing has become, one of the top skill sets today, which are needed in the industry. Data and analytics. How would you handle data using analytics? Problem solving techniques and technical skill set, which means domain skill sets. So, these are the top four different kinds of skill sets required. And as you can see, these are, giving you some sort of an overview of what are the salaries across, average salaries across, AI ML engineers across the industry. And of course, this assumes 0 to 4 years of work experience. So as you can see, pretty good packages if you're able to elevate yourself as a business analyst, and more importantly, as an AI ML or a data scientist in any firm, as you can see, the salaries are very, very rewarding and handsome. Moving on, a couple of other slides. So, who are the top recruiters? As you can see, recruiters come across. Every company nowadays recruits for analytics, and you have companies spread across communications, automobile, finance, banking, consumer goods, uh, high technology, media, energy, insurance, aero, industrial, life sciences, and other kinds of diversified businesses. FMCG, of course, which require analytics and which recruit for analytics. So the landscape for recruitment of analytics, if you have analytics skill sets, is huge. You can practically fit into any company if you know analytics inside out. So career trajectory, you typically start in the industry after your UG as an analyst at various packages. You move on to an associate level after 2 to 4 years of experience in the industry. From an associate, you basically move on to a VP, AVP, vice president level, and after that, you essentially become a director or a partner in the company. And these are the average salaries across every segment. With various years of experience laid out in this flowchart. So as you can see, you start at the bottom of the ladder, and then based on your progression in the company, you can quickly move up this ladder. You can actually become a VP or an AVP within even 5 years if you're able to demonstrate value to your organization. And when can you demonstrate value to your organization? When you have the skill sets in analytics, right? So these are some of the important things which I wanted to share with you. And one final word on the program, the analytics program, which we intend to offer. So under our analytics program or the analytics track, we offer 20 plus courses, and these courses are in the form of synchronous and asynchronous learning. We cover various kinds of important technologies which are useful in the analytics industry. Like for business intelligence, as you've seen, you need a Tableau or a Power BI. For big data analytics, you need Hadoop. For data analytics, you need SQL. For big data, again, you need Spark. And for any sort of data science, you need Python. So these are some of the important technologies which would be covered in your analytics program. Our alumni end up, working at some of the top recruiting companies for analytics. Some of the companies are given out across the 3 years. So we intend to run these tracks across all 3 years of your education, and you will have access to more than 200 hours of content, industry-oriented, platform-based content across various domain areas. So the areas which we cover are financial analytics, social media analytics, marketing analytics, HR analytics, and through these, we teach you different important areas like machine learning, big data analytics, data mining, AI, neural network, uh, deep learning, sentiment analysis, etc., etc. So these are the important things covered under our curriculum, and the suggested track, which is basically laid out. It's a 6 semester track. You start off with Excel for analytics. You move on to something called as business intelligence using Power BI. And as you are now aware of, business intelligence is where you create dashboards and reports for consumption for top management or middle management. We introduced data analytics as part of the 3rd semester. Then we introduced machine learning, predictive modeling, where you will be using Python essentially, and some other platform where you might not be required to do any coding. So we'll be introducing all these important machine learning algorithms, AI algorithms, neural networks in your semester 4. Semester 5, we will be introducing something called as big data analytics, because a lot of times you need to parallel process your data, and your data is also very huge. So that falls under the purview of big data analytics, where we will be using the Hadoop ecosystem so as to understand how to handle big data. And finally, how to apply analytics across finance, marketing, web, and social media analytics, right? So this is a suggested 6 sort of a semester track for the BBA, BCom programs. And this is where I would like to stop. If there are any questions from the audience, I'm most willing to answer those questions.
Thank you, sir, for that detailed and informative session. I'm sure a lot of them are much more confident and comfortable with this course now. With that, I would also like to request you all to type out your I would like to request you all to type out questions if you have any in the chat box, or students could also wish to unmute themselves and ask if they wish to. If anybody has any questions, you could please unmute yourself. Sir, there's a question for you from Mithun. He said if he could do this course with MBA or after MBA.
So, in fact, there are certain MBA programs which offer specialization in analytics. So, along with your MBA, you can specialize in analytics as part of your MBA program. So, there are some schools and universities which do offer you that option. But yes, you can always upskill yourself along with an MBA, because MBA is more of a general degree. But in order to enter into the analytics degree, you need to undergo certain specializations. You need to learn certain important tools, methods, domain knowledge you require of how to, apply various kinds of techniques, modeling techniques across various domains. As I said, within finance itself, there are so many domains which require the use of analytics, and it's very important for you to understand domains as well, and also apply that domain knowledge to various kinds of platforms like Python or Tableau or Power BI. So yes, you can definitely pursue this course along with an MBA or even after an MBA. A lot of we run such kind of courses for a lot of corporates to keep upskilling them, so that in a corporate, someone maybe from the business analyst side wants to become a data science, so they would want to undergo our program in Python, for instance. So we conduct a lot of such programs for corporates as well.
Sir, Praveen has asked if you could share the semester-wise syllabus for BBA Business Analytics of Christ Academy.
Yes. Let me just share my screen again. So this is the semester-wise plan for the various courses which we intend to do. So semester 1, for instance, Excel for analytics. Semester 2, business intelligence using Power BI or Tableau as a platform. Semester 3, introduction to data analytics. Semester 4 will be machine learning and predictive modeling. Semester 5 will be big data analytics. Semester 6 will be applied analytics. And of course, there are a few add-on courses which are there, which you can probably take up in the form of self-paced modules. And these are in the areas of financial analytics, marketing analytics, web social media analytics, and also dashboarding using Tableau. Right. So these are some of the courses which we have suggested, which would be part of your track.
Ishita has asked if this will hold a good scope if she's aiming to become a marketing, or if she's aiming to do something in marketing or digital marketing.
Of course, as I've given several examples in my presentation around marketing and sales, I think this has a very good scope for marketing or digital marketing for that matter, where analytics plays a critical role in terms of pricing points, in terms of understanding customer behavior, in terms of understanding customer segmentation. So yes, I think there's a very important scope for analytics within marketing and within sales. And also e-commerce. Don't forget e-commerce, where analytics plays a very, very critical role in terms of cross-selling strategies. I gave you examples of cross-selling as well in the presentation.
Smita wanted to ask about the scope of HR analytics and what should she pursue after 3 years of BBA in business analytics for HR.
Yeah. So see, if you want to do HR, there are various substreams within HR, right? So there's recruitment, there's training and development, there is sourcing, there is staffing, there is remuneration policies, retention policies. There are so many areas. And as I gave certain examples, there is a lot of scope for analytics, because within each of these substreams or verticals, analytics is extremely important these days. So if you are able to, go into a company where you want an HR job with the knowledge of analytics, you can probably, get one of the top jobs in any company in within HR, if you are well versed with analytics, because then you will not only know how to handle data well, but also you will be able to understand data which is being churned out by your organization in a better way, and you might also run certain algorithms and do certain predictive modeling based on that data.
Thank you, sir. That was a really beautiful video. Now, I would like to call upon Messi Saji to propose the vote of thanks.
Good afternoon to all of you who are present on this online platform today. I consider it a privilege to have received the opportunity to deliver the vote of thanks for the day. First of all, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our guest for the day, Mr. Harjeet Singh, for having taken time out of his busy schedule to interact with us today. Your session was truly an impressive one, and I'm sure that all of us have received an ample amount of learning to take back with us today. Thank you, sir. I would also like to thank our Principal Reverend Father Babu Paul, Vice Principal Reverend Father Joshua, Director Dr. Binu Paul for their constant effort. I also extend my heartfelt gratitude to Mrs. Mohini Bhatt, Head of the Department, School of Business and Management, and all the other faculty members for taking the initiative to organize events like these for us. Last but not least, let me thank all my fellow students of Christ Academy for your active participation and cooperation. You guys were truly a wonderful audience. Once again, thank you to each and every one who has been a part of today's event. Thank you.